Picture this. It's nearly midnight, and a billionaire CEO is seconds away from sealing the most important deal of his life when a single message lights up his phone. In just 13 minutes, he must decide close the deal or show up for his daughter's 6th birthday. The problem, he didn't even remember it was today. Not until a stranger at an all-night diner, someone he'd never met, makes him question everything he thought he valued. What happens next isn't just a turning point in one man's life, it's a wake-up call for all of us chasing success, while love quietly slips away. Now, let's go back to that fateful night and the choice that could either save a family or shatter it forever. In the heart of Manhattan, where skyscrapers pierce the night like silver needles, there's a man who has everything money can buy, except for what his heart truly craves. This is the story of Nathaniel Carter, a 38-year-old financial executive who's about to realize that some deals can't be measured in dollars and some deadlines matter more than any board meeting. Nathaniel Carter was not born wealthy. He grew up in a small apartment in Queens, watching his mom work 3 jobs just to put food on the table. He promised himself that one day his kids would never have to go through struggles like that, and he kept that promise, maybe even a bit too well. By age 38, Nathaniel had built an empire. His corner office on the 42nd floor overlooked Central Park. His Bentley was parked in a reserved spot. His penthouse had views that magazine photographers would pay thousands to capture. But success came at a price he never expected. 3 years ago, his wife Sarah passed away from cancer. In her final months, she made him promise something that haunted him every day. Promise me you won't let work take away your time with Lily. Promise me you'll be the dad she needs, not just the provider you think she wants. But grief does strange things to people. Some pull away from the world. Others throw themselves into work until they forget anything else exists. Nathaniel chose the latter. Every morning, Nathaniel woke up at 5:30 a.m. He showered, put on one of his perfectly tailored suits, and grabbed a cup of coffee from a machine that cost more than most people's monthly rent. He glanced into Lily's room, where his 6-year-old daughter was sleeping with her black curls spread across the pillow like silky ribbons. She looked so much like Sarah that sometimes his chest tightened with a pain like drowning. "I love you, my little girl," he whispered, then closed the door and disappeared into his world of numbers and negotiations. Mrs. Williams, the strict housekeeper he hired, took care of everything else. She woke Lily, dressed her, fed her breakfast, and took her to school. She picked her up, helped with homework, and put her to bed. Mrs. Williams was efficient, punctual, and completely lacking in warmth, but she kept Lily safe, fed, and clean. And Nathaniel told himself that was enough. What he didn't see were the drawings Lily made at school, always of 2 figures. An adult and a child, with the adult's face turned away. He didn't hear her tell her teacher, "My dad is really busy saving the world." He didn't know that every night she left her bedroom door cracked open, hoping to hear his footsteps on the stairs. June was Nathaniel's biggest month yet. The merger he'd been orchestrating for 2 years was finally coming together. Japanese investors, European banks, tech companies from Silicon Valley. All the pieces were falling into place for a $2.3 billion deal. It would secure his company's future for the next decade. It would set up trust funds for Lily so she could live comfortably for life. But as the deadline approached, his work hours stretched longer. 14-hour days turned into 16-hour days. 16-hour days turned into 18-hour days. There were nights he slept on the couch in his office instead of driving the 40 minutes home. In a serious way, as if she understood that Dad's working really hard, Mrs. Williams would tell Lily when she asked where he was. "Work is very important." Lily would nod seriously, as if she understood that work was more important than bedtime stories, Saturday morning pancakes, or the art projects she made at school that were piling up on the kitchen counter unseen. What Nathaniel didn't realize was that Lily had planned something special. For weeks, she'd been working on a project with her art teacher, Ms. Jennifer. She'd made him a birthday card, not for her own birthday coming up on June 11th, but for Father's Day. Inside, in the careful handwriting of a 6-year-old, she wrote, "Dear Dad, I know you're really busy, but I love you more than all the stars. Can we have a tea party on my birthday? Sitting in the meeting room with 12, just you and me. Love, Lily. The card sat on his nightstand, where Mrs. Williams had placed it 3 days ago. Nathaniel hadn't been home long enough to notice it. On the morning of June 10th, Nathaniel sat in the meeting room with 12 other executives reviewing the final details of the merger. Charts and graphs covered every surface. Coffee cups were stacked like archaeological layers. His phone buzzed with a text message. It was from Lily's school, a reminder that tomorrow was a special person day, where kids could invite someone important to lunch and hear about their career. Lily had signed him up 2 months ago. Nathaniel stared at the message for a moment, then set his phone face down. The investors in Tokyo were calling in 6 hours. He couldn't leave. He quickly typed back emergency at the office. Have Mrs. Williams go instead. He didn't see Ms. Jennifer reading the message to Lily. He didn't hear Lily's voice get really small as she said, "That's okay. Mrs. Williams knows about important business too." But that afternoon, something else happened. Lily came home with an invitation. Not for her, but for him. Tomorrow, June 11th, was her 6th birthday, and she wanted a small party. Just the two of them. She told Ms. Jennifer, just her and her dad eating cake and making wishes. Mrs. Williams found the invitation in Lily's backpack and carefully placed it on Nathaniel's desk at home next to 17 other papers he hadn't had time to read. That night, June 10th, Nathaniel stayed at the office until nearly 10 p.m. Finally, the merger papers were ready. 24 months of work boiled down to 400 pages of legal language that could change everything. As he signed his name for what felt like the 1,000th time that day, he felt a strange mix of victory and emptiness. His phone rang. It was Mrs. Williams. "Mr. Carter, I wanted to confirm the schedule for tomorrow. Should I plan the birthday for the evening, or will you handle it?" Those words hit him like a bucket of cold water. Which birthday? There was a pause. Lily's birthday. "Sir, tomorrow is June 11th. Nathaniel's pen stopped moving. June 11th. He looked at his desk calendar and saw it there, circled in red with Lily's careful handwriting. My birthday, with 3 exclamation points and a smiley face. How could he have forgotten? How could the most important day of his daughter's year become just another square on the calendar? He was too busy to check, sir. Mrs. Williams' voice seemed to echo from far away. Yes, of course. I'll handle it. Scheduled for 100 a.m. The merger. But as he hung up, Nathaniel realized he didn't know how to handle it. The call in Tokyo was scheduled for 100 a.m. The merger would close in the morning. And somewhere in his penthouse, his 6-year-old daughter was probably asleep, dreaming of a birthday party with her dad. For the first time in 3 years, Nathaniel Carter put his hand to his forehead and wondered if he was becoming the kind of man his wife would be ashamed to know. Nathaniel drove home through the empty streets of Manhattan, his mind racing faster than his car. June 11th, Lily's 6th birthday. How could he forget something so basic and important? That date had been on his calendar for months. Last week, Lily had asked if they could have a princess party, just the two of them. Dad. Of course. He'd said yes, the way he said yes to everything lately. Quickly, distracted, while reading emails on his phone. But saying yes and actually planning it are two different things. The penthouse was dark when he arrived. Mrs. Williams had left at 9 p.m. as usual. Nathaniel stood in the foyer, surrounded by luxury that suddenly felt empty. The marble floors echoed his footsteps. The crystal chandelier cast shadows instead of warmth. Everything perfect, everything cold. On the kitchen counter, he found evidence of his failure. A stack of party supplies that Mrs. Williams had clearly bought pink paper plates, a pack of balloons, a box of cake mix. Practical, efficient, depressing. Next to them was a neatly handwritten note from her. Lily has been asking about her party all week. She specifically asked if you'd help her blow out the candles. I told her you'd try. You'll try. No, you won't be there. Not that you promised to try. Nathaniel walked to Lily's room and gently pushed the door open. His daughter was sound asleep, her black curls spread across the pillow. But what made his chest tighten wasn't her peaceful look. It was what surrounded her. On her nightstand was a drawing she'd made of the two of them. With her 6-year-old artistic talent, she'd drawn herself in a pink dress with a crown, and next to her, a tall figure in a suit. Him. They were holding hands, and above them, she wrote the best birthday ever. On her desk was another drawing, this one of a birthday cake with 6 candles. Next to it, she placed her favorite stuffed animal, a worn teddy bear named Mr. Buttons, which had been with her since she was a baby. She'd made him a little paper crown, but what broke Nathaniel's heart was what he found on her iPad, charging on her dresser. She'd recorded a video message for him, something she'd probably learned at school. With trembling fingers, he hit play. Lily's face filled the screen, serious and beautiful, and so much like her mom that Nathaniel had to lean on the doorframe to steady himself. "Hi, Dad," she said in her sweet, clear voice. "Today is June 10th, and tomorrow is my birthday. I'm turning 6, which is a big age. I made this video because sometimes you work late, and I wanted to tell you something important." She paused, looking straight into the camera with eyes that seemed wiser than any 6-year-old should be. "I know your work is really important, and I know you're trying to take care of me. Mrs. Williams says that's why you work so hard. But Dad, I don't need you to take care of me with money. I need you to take care of me with you. Tomorrow is my birthday, and I only want one thing. I want to blow out the candles with you. I want you there, not thinking about work, not on the phone, just there with me. If you can't make it, that's okay. I'll understand. But if you can, Dad, that would be the best birthday gift ever." The video ended with Lily blowing a kiss to the camera. "I love you more than the whole world," she whispered, and the screen went dark. Nathaniel sank into the chair beside Lily's bed, the iPad still warm in his hands. At 6 years old, his daughter already understood that love isn't something you can buy. At 6 years old, she'd learned to expect disappointment from the one who should be her safe haven. When did this happen? When did he become the kind of dad who needed his daughter to make videos to communicate with him? When did he get so lost in providing for her future that he forgot to be present in her childhood? Memories flooded back, not of boardrooms and conference calls, but of promises he'd made. Standing in the hospital room where Sarah took her last breath, holding their 3-year-old daughter, swearing he'd be enough for both of them, swearing he'd never let work come before family like his own father had. But somewhere along the way, he'd convinced himself that providing was the same as parenting, that building financial security was like building memories, that making sure Lily never wanted for material things was the same as making sure she never wanted for love. He thought about Sarah, about what she'd say if she could see him now. She was always the one reminding him about school plays, parent-teacher meetings, the little moments that mattered more than any deal he could close. He thought about Sarah, about what she'd say if she could see him now. She was always the one reminding him about school plays, parent-teacher meetings, the little moments that mattered more than any deal he could close. "Success isn't measured by your bank account, Nate," she once said to him. "It's measured by the number of times your child runs to you when you get home." When was the last time Lily ran to you? When was the last time he got home early enough for her to run to him? At 11:47 p.m., Nathaniel's phone rang. The caller ID showed Tanaka-san from Tokyo. The merger deal, worth $2.3 billion, had consumed his life for 2 years. For a moment, he just stared at the phone. In Tokyo, it was already the afternoon of June 11th, his daughter's birthday, the day he had promised without realizing he'd have to choose between the biggest career success of his life and the most important personal moment of his year. He answered on the 4th ring. "Cartizan." Hiroshi Tanaka's voice was joyful over the Trans-Pacific line. "We're ready. The documents are perfect. We can wrap everything up in the next hour. This is the pinnacle of everything we've worked on." Nathaniel glanced through the open door of Lily's room, where she slept peacefully, trusting that tomorrow would bring what she had wished for. Not toys or gifts, but simply his presence. "Mr. Tanaka," he said slowly, "I need to ask you something. Do you have kids?" There was a surprised silence. "Yes." "Cartizan. 2 daughters. And if you had to choose between the biggest deal of your career and your daughter's birthday, what would you do?" The silence stretched across the Pacific. When Tanaka spoke again, his voice was softer, more thoughtful. "Cartizan, Are we talking hypotheticals here? Nathaniel closed his eyes. No. Sir, we're not. Another long pause. Then my oldest daughter is 25 now. Do you know what she remembers about her childhood? Not the promotions I got or the deals I closed. She remembers the Saturday mornings when I made animal-shaped pancakes for her. She remembers the time I took her to work on Take Your Daughter to Work Day and let her sit in my chair, pretending to be the boss. Mr. Tanaka. This deal can wait until Monday, but birthdays only come once a year. After Nathaniel hung up, he sat in the darkness of his daughter's room for a long while. Through her window, he could see the lights of Manhattan twinkling like stars on Earth. Somewhere in those lights were other dads working late, other kids going to bed, wondering if tomorrow would be different. But tonight, in this moment, he had a choice. He thought about the merger, about the financial security it would bring. He thought about trust funds, college accounts, and wedding funds it would create for Lily. He thought about professional respect, industry recognition, and a sense of accomplishment. Then he looked at his sleeping daughter, her little hand clutching Mr. Buttons, her birthday crown waiting on the nightstand. The choice, when he really thought about it, wasn't hard at all. Nathaniel pulled out his phone and started typing an email to his assistant. Reschedule everything for Monday. Meetings, family emergencies, for his business partners. The Tanaka deal was postponed until next week. Non-negotiable. For the Tokyo investors. Something more important had come up. Something more important. Sarah would smile about that. But as he looked around Lily's room, at the party supplies that Mrs. Williams had bought, at the drawings, videos, and careful preparations for a party, Nathaniel realized he had no idea how to give his daughter a birthday she deserved. He'd been so busy being the provider that he forgot how to be a parent. It was 11:58 p.m. In 2 minutes, June 11th would be his daughter's 6th birthday, and he'd need help to make it magical. At 12:15 a.m. on June 11th, Nathaniel did something he hadn't done in 3 years. He gently lifted his sleeping daughter out of bed, wrapped her in her favorite blanket, a soft pink unicorn one that Sarah had bought before she got sick, and carried her to his car. Lily stirred as he buckled her into the car seat, her eyes opening with the trusting confusion that kids have when they wake up in their parents' arms. "Daddy," she whispered, her voice hoarse from sleep. "What's going on, happy birthday?" "Sweetheart," he said gently, brushing her curly hair from her face. "We're going on an adventure together." But it's already dark out. The best adventures happen when everyone's asleep. As they drove through the quiet streets of Manhattan, Nathaniel realized he didn't have a destination in mind. The city looked different at midnight, gentler somehow, more forgiving. The sharp edges of daylight softened into something almost magical. "Where are we going?" Lily asked, now more awake, pressing her face against the window to watch the sleeping city go by. "Past dark offices, past buildings, I'm not sure yet," Nathaniel admitted, "but we'll know when we find it." They drove for 20 minutes, past closed shops and dark offices, past the buildings where Nathaniel spent most of his waking hours. Finally, on a quiet street in Chelsea, they saw it. A small diner with warm light spilling from the windows and a neon sign that read, "Sonny's 24-hour kitchen." "That one," Lily suddenly said, pointing. "That looks friendly." Sophie Ramirez had been working at Sonny's for 3 years, ever since her art school scholarship ran out. The late shift wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills and gave her quiet hours to sketch on the order pads and dream about the gallery she'd have one day. At 12:45 a.m., she was wiping down tables and thinking about the painting she'd started that morning, something like morning light reflecting in a puddle of rainwater when the door jingled open. A man in an expensive suit walked in, carrying a little girl in unicorn pajamas. The contrast was striking: his perfectly tailored clothes and her messy hair, his obvious wealth and her simple pajamas. But what caught Sophie's attention was the expression on his face: lost, desperate, and tender. "Good evening," she said gently. "Table for 2. The man nodded and sat in a booth near the window. The little girl curled up next to him, blinking in the diner's soft light. "What can I get for you?" Sophie asked, setting down 2 menus. The man looked at the menu as if he'd never seen one before. "And I forgot." I forgot, this might sound strange, but today is my daughter's birthday. And I forgot her birthday. His voice choked on the last word, and Sophie felt her heart tighten. Late shifts. People running from fights. She'd seen a lot of pain on late shifts. People running from fights. From losses. From mistakes they couldn't fix. But there was something about this man's raw pain that touched her differently. How old are you today? Sweetie, she asked the little girl. 6, Lily said shyly. Today I'm 6. 6 is a very special age, Sophie said seriously. 6 is when you start losing your baby teeth and when you learn to ride a bike without training wheels. 6 is when you're old enough for real adventures. Lily smiled for the first time since they arrived. Daddy said we're on an adventure right now. Sophie looked at the man, Nathaniel, as she later learned and saw something familiar. The same look she'd seen in her own father's eyes when he worked 3 jobs to support her and her sister. The look of someone who loved deeply but didn't know how to show it. You know what Sophie said, making a decision. This could change 3 lives. I think every 6-year-old deserves a proper birthday party. And lucky for you, I'm a midnight birthday party expert. What happened next became the story Lily would tell for the rest of her life. The story she'd share at her high school graduation, at her wedding, when she became a mother. The story of the night a waitress named Sophie helped her dad remember what mattered most. Sophie disappeared into the kitchen and returned with a bag full of supplies. I keep these for emergencies, she explained, pulling out craft paper, markers, glue, and scissors. Art emergencies. While Nathaniel watched in amazement, Sophie and Lily turned the corner booth into a birthday wonderland. They cut craft paper into streamers and taped them to the windows. They made crowns from napkins and drew stars on them with markers. They turned brown paper bags into placemats, decorating them with unicorns and rainbows, handmade birthday style. Every birthday girl needs a proper crown, Sophie declared, placing a paper crown decorated with crayon gems on Lily's head. What about Dad? Lily asked. Dad gets a crown too, Sophie said, making a bigger one and putting it on Nathaniel's head. He looked both funny and wonderful at the same time. For the birthday cake, Sophie whipped up some pancakes from the grill and stuck a candle in it that she found in the kitchen's emergency kit. It wasn't fancy, but when she dimmed the diner's lights and lit the single candle, it glowed like magic. Make a wish, Nathaniel whispered to his daughter, and for the first time in years, his voice was full of wonder instead of exhaustion. Lily squeezed her eyes shut, her little face serious with the weight of a 6-year-old's hope. When she opened them, she looked straight at her dad. I wish for more adventures with you. She blew out the candle, and in the following darkness, Nathaniel felt something shift inside his chest, like a door he'd kept shut for the last 3 years had finally opened, letting light into places that had been dark for too long. While Lily colored a picture of their midnight party, Sophie and Nathaniel talked, really talked, in a way he hadn't since Sarah passed away. She is remarkable, Sophie said, watching Lily focus on her drawing. Disappointed. She's still full of hope. She seems so light-hearted. Even after disappointment, she's still full of hope. Nathaniel said softly that she got that from her mom. I'm afraid she didn't get much from me. I don't think that's true, Sophie said gently. She talks about you all the time. My dad works so hard. My dad is so important. My dad loves me even when he's busy. She sees you as her hero. Nathaniel's throat tightened. Some hero. I forgot her birthday. But you remembered in time and did something about it, Sophie pointed out. That matters. Believe me, I know what it's like to have parents who never remembered. She told him about her childhood, about a dad with 3 jobs and a mom cleaning offices at night, about birthdays that slipped by unnoticed because survival came before celebration, about learning early that love sometimes looks like absence, like sacrifice, like working yourself to the bone to provide for your kids until you forget to just be with them. What makes the difference is that you're here now. You chose her over whatever was holding you back. Do you know how rare that is? As the night wore on, other late-night wanderers stopped into Sunny's. A cab driver on break, a nurse finishing her shift at the hospital across the street, a young couple heading home after a late movie. Each of them joined in Lily's birthday party, offering small gifts from their pockets. A feathered pen from the nurse, a little toy from the cab driver's dashboard, a pack of mints shaped like flowers from the couple. But the real gift was something none of them could wrap or buy. It was the gift of community, of strangers becoming friends, of moments that prove kindness still exists in the world. Nathaniel watched his daughter bloom in the warmth of all this attention. She told stories. She laughed. She drew pictures for everyone. She glowed with the simple joy of being celebrated, seen, and at the center of her dad's universe in these precious hours. "This is the best birthday ever," she declared around 2 a.m., with a bit of chocolate from the pancakes smeared on her cheek. "Better than a princess party?" Nathaniel asked. "Much better," she said seriously, "because you're here." As dawn began to break through the diner's windows, Lily finally drifted off to sleep. Curled up on the booth with her head on Nathaniel's lap, Sophie brought him a cup of coffee and sat across from them. "What's next?" she asked quietly. Nathaniel looked down at his daughter, at her peaceful face framed by the paper crown she refused to take off. "Now, I learned to be the dad she deserves. That's not something you learn in one night." "No," he agreed, "but it's something you choose every day. And I choose her. Starting now, starting today, I choose her." Sophie smiled. "She's lucky to have you. I'm the lucky one," Nathaniel said, and he meant it. As they prepared to leave, Sophie wrote her number on a napkin. She smiled and said, "In case you need help planning the next adventure." Nathaniel grabbed the napkin, but more importantly, he learned a valuable lesson. That love isn't about big gestures or pricey gifts. It's about showing up. That's being present. It's about always choosing to put the people you love first. That morning, Nathaniel called his office and took a sick day for the first time in 5 years. He and Lily spent the whole day doing all the things they should have done a long time ago. They made breakfast together, and Lily stood on a chair to help flip the pancakes. They went to the park and fed the ducks. They built a blanket fort in the living room and read stories inside it. Most importantly, they talked. Lily told him about school, her friends, and the art project she'd been dreaming up for weeks. Nathaniel told her about his job, but in a way she could understand, like helping people, solving problems, and building things that last. "Dad," she said as the two of them sat in their blanket fort, "can we have more birthdays like last night?" Nathaniel replied, "You only get one birthday a year, but we can have more adventures anytime you want, even on school nights." Especially on school nights. That evening, they had a real birthday party. Just the two of them with a proper cake, candles, and gifts. But somehow, it wasn't as magical as their midnight party at Sunny's, because the real magic wasn't in the place or the time. It was in choosing to be together. 6 months later, Nathaniel's life was completely different. He still worked hard, closed important deals, and planned for his daughter's future, but he also coached her soccer team on weekends. He helped with her homework every evening. He tucked her in, read stories, and listened to her prayers. The merger with the Tokyo investors went through on the following Monday, just as Hiroshi Tanaka had promised. But Nathaniel had negotiated something else, a clause that let him work from home 2 days a week to be flexible for school events, sick days, and midnight birthday parties. Sophie became a big part of their lives, joining them for Sunday dinners and helping Lily with her art projects. She also started dating Nathaniel slowly and carefully, with Lily's enthusiastic approval, because Lily had learned something important that night at Sunny's, that family can grow in unexpected ways, that love can be found in the most unlikely places, and that the greatest gifts often come disguised as ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Years later, when Lily was all grown up and had kids of her own, she still talked about her 6th birthday, not because of the gifts she got or the cake she ate, but because it was the night her dad came back to her. That night, he realized that success isn't measured by bank accounts or boardrooms, but by how many times your kid runs to you when you come home. She often told her own children about the importance of choosing people over profits, about the magic that happens when you show up for the ones you love, and about a waitress named Sophie who helped a lost father find his way back to what mattered most. And sometimes, late at night when her kids were asleep, Lily would drive by Sunny's 24-hour diner, still open and welcoming night owls searching for more than just a meal. She'd remember the taste of that birthday pancake, the warmth of the paper crown, and the feeling of being the most important person in her dad's world, because that's what real love is. Not promises to take care of someone's future, but choosing to be there for their today. Not perfect guarantees, but a commitment to keep trying, keep choosing, and keep showing up. And on quiet nights when the city is asleep and dreams are born in the darkness, it's still happening somewhere. Parents are choosing their kids over their careers. A stranger is being kind to someone in need. A family is being rebuilt moment by moment, choice by choice, adventure by midnight adventure. Because in the end, we're all just wanderers searching for home. And sometimes, if we're really lucky, we find it in a 24-hour diner with paper crowns and pancakes, along with loving actions that say, "You're more important than anything else in the world, and more than any deal, merger, or bank account." That's what makes life worthwhile. This story reminds us that success means nothing if we forget the people we love. In chasing wealth and power, this father nearly lost the one thing that truly mattered, his daughter's heart. But sometimes, it takes a stranger's kindness at a quiet diner to wake us up and lead us back to what's real. His journey wasn't perfect, but the fact that he chose to change, even when it was almost too late, speaks volumes. If this story touched you like it did me, let's rally behind him. No one is beyond redemption, and every step toward healing deserves our support. What would you do if you had 13 minutes to save your family? Let us know in the comments. And to the father in this story, don't stop here. Keep showing up. Keep choosing love over legacy. Your daughter will remember not the deals you closed, but the moments you stayed. If you believe in second chances, in stories that heal and connect us, then don't forget to subscribe to Touching Tales Hub, because sometimes a single story can shift a life, maybe even yours.